Just after the turn of the 20th century, a new entertainment venue opened in Grand Rapids. Called simply the Majestic, it boasted the largest stage of any theater in the state. And for a dozen years, it brought drama, musical comedy, vaudeville, and light opera to West Michigan. By 1915, however, motion pictures were becoming the rage. To keep up with the times, the Majestic spiffed up its auditorium and renamed itself the Majestic Gardens. For nearly 60 years, it remained primarily a movie house. When its last picture show was screened in 1974, no one dreamed the Majestic's best years were yet to come. But let's flash back to 1926, when a group of Grand Rapids theater lovers formed the Civic Players. Before that year was out, they had staged 4 productions in the St. Cecilia Music Society's auditorium, and what would later become the Grand Rapids Civic Theatre was on its way. Though the instant success of its early years was soon replaced by Depression-era financial shortfalls and declining membership, the group never lost faith. It continued to mount productions, moving from one performance hall to another. Finally, in 1979, thanks in good part to the generosity of John and Edith Blodgett, the Civic Theatre arrived at its true and lasting home, the slumbering Majestic Theatre. Through all the ups and downs, the Grand Rapids Civic Theatre attracted an ever-enlarging base of dedicated volunteers, generous supporters, talented performers, and a loyal audience. It was becoming what it had been created to be, a pillar of the cultural community in West Michigan. No one has been more instrumental in helping the Civic Theatre reach that goal than Paul Dreer, who arrived in 1960 for a 39-year run as its director.
Well, when I first came, I was 27 years old, and it was my first community theater job, and I thought that probably about 5 years I would be ready to move on, that I would accomplish everything that I could accomplish in Grand Rapids. And then as time went on, I realized you never accomplish what you can accomplish, and the thought came, move on. Where would I want to move on to? I loved it here, and I loved the challenge, and I loved the theater.
Those were years of tremendous growth. And under the stewardship of current director Bruce Tinker, that growth continues today.
Grand Rapids Civic Theatre is one of the largest and oldest community theaters in Michigan and in the United States. We have over 120,000 patrons every year, and as one of 5,000 community theaters in the United States, we are subsequently one of the largest community theaters in the world. And we have the most comprehensive educational program in the nation for community theater.
The real name of the Grand Rapids Civic Theatre is the Grand Rapids Civic Theatre and School of Theater Arts. The School of Theater Arts is an all-encompassing program. After school for children, on weekends for adults or in the evening for adults, and it teaches dance, voice, and of course, acting. It's a wonderful program that serves over 1,800 students a year.
But while Civic Theatre's patronage and programs were expanding, its home was now more than 100 years old, as Fred and Lena Meyer, longtime Civic Theatre fans and supporters, couldn't help but notice on a recent last-minute visit.
They only had down in front and balcony. I go to the balcony. Well, I did in the past, and we enjoyed it, and never worried about the steps, never worried about the rails. When I got to that balcony, I thought, boy, no. If I have to go to the bathroom, I got to go up those uneven steps, then no rails. And so I vowed to do something about it. That's kind of the way it started. And then Grand Action came in and said, we would like it remodeled where it is. It has historical significance, the majestic and the age and the beauty and everything else. If it wasn't for Grand Action, I would have been lobbying for a separate building someplace else. But they had made sense. It adds to the central Grand Rapids cultural activities. And so, anyway, we came to a meeting of minds. And that's how I got involved.
We really are the stewards of the Majestic Theatre. And to be able to have the ability through this incredibly generous project made possible by the Meyers and by Grand Action, to be able to have the ability to restore the Majestic to its grandeur is really a wonderful gift. They don't build theaters like this anymore. And to have that structure in downtown Grand Rapids is truly a wonderful gift for the organization.
What's happening now is going to make it even more attractive, of course. It fits right in with what's been happening all over downtown, which I think is a sort of a modern miracle, the rebirth of Grand Rapids.
Playing a major role in this homegrown miracle has been Grand Action, co-chaired during the past 13 years by business and community leaders John Canepa, Dick DeVos, and David Fry.
Grand Rapids has been transformed. Think of the Ford Museum, the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel, the Van Andel Institute, the Meyer Gardens and Sculpture Park, the recently completed DeVos Place. Each in turn drew its signature silhouette on the skyline, helping to make ours the best mid-sized city in the country.
And in recent years, we've also watched the Van Andel Arena go up on Fulton Street, while the Public Museum of Grand Rapids and the Van Andel Museum Center took its place on the west side of town. And not too far down the road, there'll be a new J.W. Marriott Hotel serving the downtown area.
And now, thanks to Fred and Lena Meyer and a small group of other generous donors, the newly refurbished home of the Grand Rapids Civic Theatre takes its place as another distinguished West Michigan landmark.
It's the newest star in a galaxy of art, cultural, and educational venues clustered near the city's geographic center.
You're right, David. Just consider the neighborhood. The completely restored Grand Rapids Public Library is just up the street, and so is the St. Cecilia Music Society. Almost as close is the Children's Museum and the beautiful new Grand Rapids Art Museum. Within easy walking distance, you've got the Urban Institute of Contemporary Art, Ferris State's Kendall College of Art and Design, and the Grand Rapids Community College.
But let's not forget what else the Civic Theater's majestic new home brings to West Michigan. It's a tremendous cultural asset, of course, but it also serves as an economic core anchor of our city center. In a word, the Civic Theater not only enriches our community artistically, but it also brings in more dollars.
You know, when the Civic Theater moved into the Majestic in 1979, it really closed itself off from Division Avenue, as a lot of us had. But we've come to realize that we need to embrace the emerging Heartside arts community. This stretch of what has been termed the Avenue of the Arts is also the southern gateway to our vibrant downtown. The Civic Theater richly deserves its marquee on such an avenue, but first, it had to dress the part. The architectural team of Tower Pinkster Titus Associates of Grand Rapids, Quinn Evans of Ann Arbor, and theater consultants Schuler Shook, together with builders Owen Ames and Kimball, had to strip the century-old structure to the bone. What had been 4 separate buildings were melded into one. Every seat in the Paul Dreher Auditorium was removed to be completely reupholstered and restored. And the lobby? Well, let's just say you really would not have wanted to be there. Now that this enormous construction project is complete, we think you'll agree it was all worth it.
The most significant features of this restoration start with the restoration of the original plasterwork. The elevator that will serve the balcony and make it easier for all patrons to use all levels of the theater. Another great feature of the facility is this new lobby atrium that's being added. This wall of glass that really welcomes everybody. As you're in the building looking out, you begin to really recognize where the facility is. It's in the heart of a city, and you're able to see that. And then also, as you traverse down the lobby, we're quadrupling the space of the lobby in the facility. And we're going to be able to offer a lot more events. The new dance studio is an incredible feature in the facility. It's got one of the best sprung floors now in the city. The green room for the actors, for the first time, the actors can sit down backstage and really discuss what's happening in the play and what's happening in their lives and how it interconnects. And then the fact that the actors are going to have these wonderful new dressing rooms. They have great makeup counters, a nice zone for them to prep for their performances. And now we have really an integrated facility. Not only will become a great beacon in the neighborhood and really become a wonderful cultural institution in this part of Grand Rapids, but it also will allow the organization to fully take advantage of its mission to educate and entertain the community.
And to move here in the central location in this wonderful old theater. It has been a wonderful home.
The wonderful thing about an old theater is that all these shows reside here. All these old productions, all of the many, many memories reside in the room. And you feel it. It's tactile within the room. All those memories and all those wonderful hours of effort and artistic creation, they're all around you.
It has truly been a grand performance, topped off now by a majestic moment. Welcome to the new 103-year-old Meyer Majestic Theater, home of the Grand Rapids Civic Theatre and School of Theatre Arts. It just keeps getting better.
The ballet is wonderful. The opera is wonderful. The symphony is wonderful. The Civic Theater is wonderful. The Broadway Theater is wonderful. They're all part of the whole that make this really a great community.
When the house lights start to dim and you don't know what's going to happen, there's a marvelous anticipation that I don't think you get anyplace else.
When you walk through those doors in a theater, something is going to be created special that night. That's magic.
Every moment you see is magical because it's the only time that it will ever happen. You may see the same play 12 times, and every moment will be 12 times different.
But the difference between movies and the theater is the fact that it's there and it's done and it's over with, but that's only the one time.
A lot of times it's what I take home from the theater and putting myself in the various roles, whether it's a drama or a musical. And it's what you talk about after you've gone away from the theater.
I've seen many children go through our program, but when I watch them for the first time performing and I feel them connecting with the audience, that's glorious. That's the magic, and that's why we're here.
Our friends, neighbors, whatever, performing for the sheer joy of performing on their own time. It makes the community more inclusive, more connected. It's sort of the glue. Keeps us together.
If you're in a Broadway play in New York or something, I think it's different. But when you're in the community theater, it's more exciting. You feel more part of the performance, and I think that's one of the real strengths of this community theater.
The community theater is not better anywhere than it is here at Grand Rapids Civic Theatre. I don't believe there's another community theater in the country that really is as good as we are, certainly none better.